We are the anchors of Queer News Tonight, and this evening we discuss the queer headlines. A federal lawsuit by out former FBI employee who was fired after displaying a Progress Pride flag is nearing discovery. This will potentially expose internal communications and testimony surrounding his dismissal and LGBTQ+ discrimination claims.
1 year after ending LGBTQ+ youth support line 988 has not restored its specialized service yet despite congressional approval. This has left vulnerable queer youth waiting as lawmakers push for faster action and funding.
Poland's president vetoed cohabitation bills that would have granted unmarried couples legal rights over property, medical access, and burial decisions, including same-sex partners.
Openly gay German conservative resigned after welcoming a child through surrogacy in the United States. Surrogacy is banned in Germany, and its own party has long-standing opposition to the practice.
Houston is restoring rainbow pride banners to Montrose before the August 15th Pride Parade. This will revive a visible symbol of LGBTQ community support nearly a year after neighborhood's iconic rainbow crosswalks were removed. All this important LGBTQ+ news and more this evening on Queer News Tonight. Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ daily news television show, broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming channels.
Analytics company vidIQ certified the Queer News Tonight's YouTube channel as the world's most popular LGBTQ streaming news show. Our queer stories have reached over 12 million views. We are proud that Queer News Tonight has more YouTube subscribers than any other LGBTQ brand in Florida.
We thank you for watching and supporting our voice in our rainbow family. There is no other news program in the LGBTQ world like Queer News Tonight.
It is Thursday, July 23rd. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we will tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
You're watching Queer News Tonight, the world's first daily LGBTQ evening news show.
Welcome to the world's most important LGBTQ evening news show. Happening Out Television Network is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model as PBS and NPR, but created for the LGBTQ community.
Our nonprofit mission is to support the 11 pillars of our community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of lesbian, trans, Latino, Black, healthcare, seniors, students, faith, social justice, business, and queer culture. Help us support our diverse community. We're part of one of the largest LGBTQ nonprofit media companies in America. Hotspots happening out South Florida.
In 2026, our magazine is celebrating 41 years of the LGBTQ experience. And Queer News Tonight is celebrating our 5th anniversary with more than 14,000 LGBTQ television stories. We present South Florida's major LGBTQ events, including Pride Fort Lauderdale, Stonewall Pride, and Pride Fest. Our magazine, events, television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ and broader community.
In 2026, more than 100 community leaders will sit at this table and share their voices as our anchors. Together, we host the show to support the LGBTQ community. Let's meet this evening's anchors at Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome the anchor, the new improved Alex Morash. Alex has served as editor-in-chief of Options Magazine, media director of the National LGBTQ Task Force, and press secretary for the Florida Democratic Party. Welcome to the show, Alex.
Why, thank you, Rex. And with your sassy, oh, he's the viewers have seen me lose weight for a year and a half or whatever it's been. But I think the most important thing for viewers to think about right now is if you're around this weekend, try to hit up Aquaplex one more time in Fort Lauderdale. Those girls are amazing.
Absolutely. Let's welcome anchor Larry Farver, the man that's done it all. Larry has over 20 years of experience in human resources, acting, film, radio, TV, live events, parade float design, production, and casting. He's also a board member of the West Side Association. Welcome to the show, Larry.
It's good to be here with you, Rex and Alex.
Aww. And of course, let's welcome my fellow skinny sister and tonight's lead anchor, Rex Rogosch. Rex is a visionary designer with over 30 years of experience in product design, interior design, and architecture. He performs in the drag community as international lords and is the current reigning Mr. Scandals 2026. Rex is the president and co-founder of Laterra, a 501c3 organization dedicated to advancing mental health awareness through inclusive community-driven events. Rex, come as you are. Turnabout invites Wilton Manors to flip the script on September 12th. So tell me, what's happening out?
Absolutely. We celebrate self-expression at Come As You Are Turnabout on Saturday, September 12th, 2026 at 8 p.m. Eastern Time at The Well, which is in Wilton Manors, hosted by myself. The themed event encourages guests to flip the expectations, swap roles, and embrace their most authentic or unexpected selves. Whether dressing to surprise, laugh, connect, or simply enjoy a fun night out, attendees can expect an inclusive atmosphere filled with entertainment and community. The event welcomes everybody to celebrate individually in a safe and vibrant space. Advance tickets are available at lanterrafl.org. And so we're very happy to, this is now our 6th year doing this event. We've moved it over to The Well because we keep outgrowing our spaces. But if nobody knows what Turnabout is, traditionally Turnabout is where people who have not performed previously or don't perform on a regular basis or don't do drag, either male or female presenting, get to get on stage, live their wild fantasies of performing, making people laugh, and then also the money that is raised by selling tables and raffles and those types of things goes to our Lanterra Mental Health Fund.
That sounds amazing. Well, first, I love that it's at The Well. Like The Well, we all know a lot of places have come and gone in that location, and The Well seems to really be sustaining itself there, and I love that about the place.
They're great.
How does one sign up to want to try out to perform, or did you already pick them?
So we do have some performers that come and do performing for us every year. But if you would like to perform, just reach out to us through social media at Lanterra FL on social media.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Well, you heard that, Queens, and we look forward to seeing you on September 12th at The Well.
I'm Rex Rogosch, and let's queer up justice. Out former FBI employee seeks discovery in pride flag firing case. A federal lawsuit filed by a gay former FBI employee, David Malinsky, is moving closer to the discovery phase. He was fired after displaying a Progress pride flag. Attorneys are seeking internal FBI records and testimony surrounding his dismissal. Malinsky spent more than 16 years with the FBI and asked a federal judge in Washington, D.C. to reject the Justice Department's efforts to dismiss key portions of his lawsuit. Malinsky was fired by FBI Director Kash Patel on October 1st, 2025, while completing special agent training. His termination letter cited poor judgment for displaying a political signage at his former Los Angeles workstation. According to the lawsuit, the display was a Progress pride flag that the FBI had previously entrusted to him in recognition of his work supporting LGBTQ+ employees. The complaint also says supervisors and the field officer's chief legal counsel had determined the display complied with FBI policy. The Justice Department argues the lawsuit does not plausibly show Malinsky was fired because he is gay or in retaliation for protected activity. Malinsky's attorney disagrees, writing, quote, "Defendants freely admitted in writing that they fired Malinsky because he displayed that flag," end quote. If the court allows discovery to proceed, the case could uncover internal communications and testimony about the decisions that ended Malinsky's FBI career. I mean, how do you give somebody something and then say, oh, nope, now I'm going to fire you for showing it? Like, just that alone doesn't make zero sense. I mean, we have seen time and time again the backlash and anti-LGBT stuff in the government under this administration. So this doesn't surprise me. But what does surprise me is that I hope the discovery happens because technically, I mean, yes, a lot of places are at will states, but I know LA has a lot of litigation and protections for employees. And to, come to work one day and go, you're fired because there's a flag, seems a little far-fetched to me.
Well, the FBI civil service employees, there's supposed to be certain standards when you fire an FBI
Correct.
agent versus any other federal employee. So, and like things that we forget that like the Trump administration, even from its first term, their goal has always been to fully dismantle the civil service. And like, there's a couple things to think about with that. Like, one, like, why do we have things like the civil service? Like, well, if you can all study, former President Ulysses Grant and his administration had a little bit of this thing called corruption. And so we try to make it more professional. But the other thing is like, if they can go after queer people, which let's be honest, the FBI has a long history of going after queer and marginalized people, so this isn't exactly new for them, but at the same time, like for their own employees, if a Republican can go after them, think of the sort of witch hunt someone like I could do if I was working for the next president or some other progressive.
Right.
And we're like, let's go after everyone who has even considered voting in a Republican primary, because that's where you're going to go if the courts uphold this termination.
Yeah, no, everything that's happening is setting precedent.
Yeah.
It's setting precedent and saying, okay, well, this little thing happened, so now let's push the boundary. And then let's push the boundary. And now we're firing you because you got pregnant and you can't do this. And now we fire, like, everything sets precedent. And unfortunately, that once that ball starts rolling, it's hard to stop it.
I'm Alex Morash, and let's clear up the USA View. 1 year later, 988 LGBTQ plus youth crisis line remains offline despite congressional funding. A year after the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline ended its specialized services for LGBTQ plus youth, the hotline has yet to restore the dedicated Option 3 service despite Congress approving its reinstatement. The specialized line shut down after federal funding expired. The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration says it is working to restore LGBTQ plus youth services by the end of the year, although that timeline is not guaranteed. Lawmakers from both parties are urging the Trump administration to act sooner. The delay comes as LGBTQ plus youth continue to face significantly higher rates of depression and suicide risk than their peers. During its 3 years of operation, more than 1.5 million people use the specialized 988 service. The Trevor Project, which handled roughly half of all LGBTQ plus 988 contacts before the service ended, says it has not been included in rebuilding the program. The organization has applied to participate in the restored service, but has not received confirmation of its role. I'll be honest, this is in some ways a very terrifying report. Specifically, the Trevor Project hasn't been included, and the fact that the Trump administration is slow walking this. I'll be honest, I'm a little pleasantly surprised that the Trump administration just isn't straight out refusing to do it. They're just trying to come up with excuses not to do it. Like, that's better than what we've seen with other programs. But at the same time, like, if they're not talking to Trevor Project now, it's deliberately not including them most likely. And I fear that they're going to have some sort of right-wing crazy organization, some sort of like weird zealots like the Alliance Defending Freedom, be the ones talking to those kids. And that would just be one of the most horrific outcomes you could think of.
Well, I mean, yes and no, because, and I want people to hear this. Yes, the option 3 is gone. However, if you are LGBT, you can still use 988. You can, and you should. Please. Yes, what we feel is a protection was there. There was specialized people who were there to answer your call, but the people who also answer 988 are still people who can help you. So I don't want people to think that because the option 3 is gone, that you can't use the number. You can also use numbers like 211, especially locally here and other places around the country. You can call the Trevor Project directly, 1-800, and if you don't feel like calling somebody, Trevor Project also takes online requests and handwritten letters still as well. So I do implore people to, yes, we need to get the specialized services back, but the service is still there and it is still usable. And I don't want somebody to hear this and think that they can't call.
Thank you, Rex.
Well, and it's appalling. You look at the priorities of the current administration, holding up funding for something as sensitive as this versus tearing down the East Wing of the White House. I mean, it just continues rolling in the wrong direction.
And thank you for mentioning that the Trevor Project still takes calls. Because, like, I'm a little biased there. I just find the Trevor Project is the best place to go to for things. I know that there are other options out there. And as someone who does not know anything about counseling, I at least know this. Don't talk to AI. Talk to someone that knows what they're doing.
Absolutely. Yes. Talk to somebody. And that's why I implore people to go out. And if you I'm just going to plug myself. If you need some sort of resources, you can go to lanterrafl.org, and we have a resources page. You can go to the mental health initiatives online. They have resources pages. Like I said, call 911, 211, 988. All three of those work.
I'm Larry Farver, and let's queer up the worldview. Poland president vetoes cohabitation bills blocking new legal rights for same-sex couples. Poland's president, Karol Nawrocki, has vetoed 2 bills that would have created legal cohabitation contracts for unmarried couples. This has dealt another setback to same-sex couples in one of the European Union's few countries with limited LGBTQ rights. The legislation would have allowed 2 adults living together to sign agreements covering joint property rights, access to medical information, and burial arrangements. The bills have gained support from Prime Minister Donald Tusk's governing coalition, including backing from the conservative PSL party. Nawrocki, however, has defended the decision, saying, quote, "As the guardian of the Constitution, I cannot accept a solution that would lead to the loss of the special status of marriage defined in Article 18 of the Constitution as a union of a man and a woman under the protection and care of the Republic of Poland," end quote. With opposition parties also against the measures, lawmakers are not expected to have enough votes to override the veto. Well, again, we have to support our LGBT brothers and sisters, LGBTQ brothers and sisters in other countries that have oppression. And, it's unfortunate something very, very basic is not being granted. I mean, they're not looking for full marriage rights. They're asking for the bare minimum. They're not getting it.
Right. Well, my basic understanding of the European Union is you're supposed to have already granted marriage equality to queer people a long time ago. Like Poland, like what's going on? Other than reminding us all that, yes, Europeans can be awful too, people. It's not just Americans.
Well, the law was for anybody, any adults cohabitating. How many male and females are out there who have been living together for ages and just never felt like getting married was in the cards for them or didn't feel like they need to. But, as they get older, they're like, oh, well, something might happen to the person that I love. And so these laws would have helped they would help Poland in general. So here's a guy who's literally vetoing his own country. He's vetoing rights for, yes, it's hurting LGBT people, and he's using that as a crutch. But he's hurting more than that, because not just LGBT people need this. Civil unions, when civil unions were the thing in the United States, it helped a lot of people. Common law marriage helped a lot of people.
Yeah,
absolutely. Over time.
People also a lot of Americans don't understand how coalition governing works for multiple. You tend to have more than one or two parties in a coalition together. If his coalition government put that bill together and he vetoed it, coalitions can collapse when that stuff happens too often. So I see this and it's like, what are you doing with your own coalition? How are you going to be able to hold it together, And then you have to have new elections. Do you think you're going to do better in the new elections? Well, if it's much harder for people to even just be roommates or something, I don't know if they're going to come out and vote for you en masse. But I will say one other thing I love to remind people about Poland, because it is a little conservative. Poland has a long history of its elites being stupid conservatives, basically. In fact, in the 1930s, they were huge admirers of this guy in Germany. And you know what that man in Germany did to all the Polish elites that supported him? He executed them when he took the country. So just remember that, Polish conservatives. Love you.
I'm Rex Rogosch, and let's queer up the worldview. Gay German MP John Spahn resigns after becoming father via U.S. surrogacy. John Spahn, an openly gay parliamentary leader of Germany's ruling conservative bloc, has resigned after becoming a father through surrogacy in the United States. This move has sparked political controversy. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz requested Spahn's resignation after Spahn announced that he and his husband, Daniel Funk, had welcomed a son. Surrogacy is banned in Germany, and Spahn's Christian Democrats Party opposes legalizing the practice. Spahn had previously defended that position. In 2015, he wrote, quote, "As a gay man and a Christian, I find it personally very hard to warm to the idea of rented womb," end quote. In a statement announcing his resignation, Spahn said, quote, "In recent days, I have become I have come to realize that my personal happiness is starting a family with my husband, and becoming a father is incompatible with my political office, end quote. It remains unclear whether Spahn will also resign from Germany's parliament or continue serving as an independent lawmaker. Rented womb? Okay, look. If you understand what surrogacy is about, you're not forcing a woman to carry your child. It is a contract. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of things that have to happen for that to become a baby. Whether it's you do it the standard way, or you do in vitro, or whatever it is. So you're not renting the womb. That's just ridiculous. But then all of a sudden, you're renting a womb, you got a son, and now you're like, oh, well, I can't. It's really hard for me because people are peopling these days. Like the hypocrisy behind everything. I talk about, like our wonderful government system where, we had spoken about it. A Republican lawmaker was on a hospital bed, and her doctor basically was like, well, the new rules say I can't do this certain surgery. She's like, well, let me call the governor. No. You created the rules. So now we're seeing it again. Mm-hmm. I don't support surrogacy, but I'm going to go do it in the United States where they do, and then I'm going to come back and become a father and not help everybody else who wants to do it. Because surrogacy is not just about having kids, people. Surrogacy is, kind of a life force. There's a lot of places that, people aren't having kids nowadays, and we're seeing an elderly population and not a lot of youth going in there. Yeah. And then there are people who want to have kids who physically can't. So, think about long-term population here.
Well, I think, surrogacy is one of those policy issues that you have all sorts of weird perspectives on the left and the right on this one, because there are just sometimes there are people that are some ladies are more than happy to be a surrogate mother. Everything, it's a chill, beautiful experience.
Right.
Then there are other horror stories of how people mistreat the mother doing the surrogacy and all these other issues. And I can understand why a country like Germany, which is part of this big thing with the EU, where you do have people in poorer countries that are part of the EU, and there might be a fear of Germans with money doing awfully exploitive things to people from other countries to come in and do that surrogacy. So I could see why Germany hasn't currently done it yet. That doesn't mean that they should always ban it, but with this particular politician, it's yeah, what a hypocrite. What a hypocrite. Just adopt at that point.
I mean, there's always horrible things that happen in any situation. Just regular pregnancy, people getting pregnant by horrible reasons, and now they can't take care of that because it's against the law. People being trafficked, people bought and sold, okay? Babies being trafficked. I can't even say, I'm so irritated. I can't even say the words. So the argument that, there's bad, things happening to people, so let's not do it, is not a sound argument. It would not hold up in a court of law. Sorry.
Yeah, it should be a basic human right. It just seems so archaic. We just talked about Poland. Now we're talking about Germany. And once these countries, once we're much more progressive, and they'll see the decline is very unfortunate.
Germany wasn't progressive at one point, dear. We can hassle them for that for decades.
Look, if I want to pay a woman to have my child and it's a legal contract, sure, let me do it. Well, make sure that it's done ethically and through the medical system.
Well, one would wonder too, and I didn't get a chance to research it, but then what is their stance on sperm donation or fertilized eggs, and donating eggs?
Well, so before I say anything, I actually have no strong opinion on this, which is very unlike me. But the people that tend to have a problem with surrogacy, it's issues like, let's say you start getting pregnant and it's not going well, so you want to terminate the pregnancy. There's all sorts of financial and legal issues with that, and that's why people tend to get a little nervous about surrogacy.
That's what contracts are for.
Yeah, but she signed a contract, but she didn't anticipate that the pregnancy might be the sort of complication that, sure, maybe it's safer to have an abortion, and then the people that wanted the baby sue and say, well, that's what you agreed to. Well, she didn't.
Again, that's what the contract's for. You put all that in the contract.
Well, sure.
Period. It's a contractual obligation.
Well, there's all sorts of things that we've done contracts for, but then when we realize maybe we shouldn't do contracts with that sort of stuff anymore, you know? And so like it's worth having the discussion. I'm not saying we should ban surrogacy.
Right.
I'm just saying that the people that have problems with surrogacy, they're not all lunatics. Probably a bunch of them are, but not all of them is what I'm saying.
I mean, if you're also then going to start quoting scripture, I mean, all I'm going to say is the Virgin Mary. I'm Rex Rogosch, and let's queer up the USA View. Pride banners return to Houston's Montrose after removal of iconic rainbow crosswalks. Nearly a year after Houston's removed Montrose, iconic rainbow crosswalks, a longtime symbol of LGBTQ pride, is returning to the neighborhood ahead of Houston's Pride Parade on August 15th. After the city's approval, community leaders are reviving the Montrose Pride Banner District, bringing rainbow banners back to Westheimer Boulevard. The effort follows the October removal of the rainbow crosswalk at Westheimer Road and Taft Street after Texas Governor Greg Abbott directed cities to eliminate non-standard roadway markings. District City Council member Joe Panzarella called the project a meaningful milestone. Houston Mayor John Whitmire supports the project, although no city funding will be used. Pride Houston 365 is funding the initial installation, with organizers aiming to place banners at 10 light poles before August 15th Pride Parade. According to a longtime Montrose community leader, Jack Valinsky, the restoration will let people know that Houston cares about the LGBTQ community. I mean, we're seeing this as kind of a normal. I mean, we saw it in Fort Lauderdale. We've seen it in Wilton Manors. We saw it in Key West. We're seeing it in, cities across the United States that, our rainbow crosswalks have been taken off. And it's not just the rainbow crosswalks. I mean, we're seeing any roadway artwork that has been done being removed. For stupid reasons, but they are being removed. So, it is up to these, community associations, and, Westheimer has always been a tight LGBTQ community since I grew up there, and it was an LGBTQ community, and still remains to. So, seeing these banners go up is a good response. We painted our parking meters. We've put up rainbow colored signage, through Wilton Manors, and, other cities are doing the same thing. They're painting the sidewalks because the sidewalks are, the city property, not state property. So, unfortunately, it's our new normal, but as you can see, people are resilient, if given adversity. So keep it up.
No, I mean, I think the larger issue with all this is not, obviously Houston's doing a wonderful thing, but if you want to ask yourself, are we turning into or already an authoritarian police state? You can look at how we treat human beings, but another way that we do that is to remove all the art. That is very common. We've been on a little kick talking about a third time in Germany. They did not like colorful art back then. And you're looking at Florida and Texas, it's not just the rainbows, as you were saying, the art murals, the NASCAR checkers they even took off, any basic look. And are we really trying to now even look like the sort of country that we were told all our lives that we're not, and it would be awful to live in? And it looks like the Republicans are really trying to get us there.
I really have a strong feeling that this was a push to get people focused on something other more important things. And not that this is not important, but I really, again, feel that this administration in general is throwing things out left and right to get your attention on something other than what they're doing that could be a little more important. And quite honestly, this was a stupid attempt. Yes, we all fought and we all cried, and I see artists even talking about the artworks that they've had been painted over, paved over. But the rainbows still persist, and the rainbows are showing up, and the buildings are getting painted, and we're doing art installations around Wilton Manors, and other cities are engaging in artists, which actually for me I think is better, because us buying that art is employing somebody. Us putting these, you're part of an association, right? Those associations are employing people and putting money back into the community. Where, yes, the state painted or the city painted a sidewalk, that paid for somebody's salary for 2.5 seconds, right? For them to paint, and they have to come back and paint it over and over again. But our associations are actually really investing back in the community. And I think it's a silver lining to the stupidity of government.
No, I hear the only thing that I'll say is that one, I agree in the sense that like one, the reference I made still applies because
It
they
does.
always distracted. The
Yes.
only other thing I'll say with that though is my biggest fear is like, yes, they've started with the sidewalks and it's a great distraction. But will they end there? And we all know the Republicans never end at just one thing. They are like crazy. They're always trying to push the envelope.
No, it's never going to end. However, it's a lot harder to go up and say you have to remove something from a privately owned building.
Yes.
Because if it doesn't violate city codes. Now, if I start seeing, say, City of Fort Lauderdale changing their codes to removing art from buildings, because it's actually now a code to have art on your building. You have to cover parking garages. There are codes in place. That's why you're seeing so many murals and stuff going up on buildings. It's actually in our codes. So if I start seeing that actually disappear, I would be a little more alarmed.
Oh yeah,
And I'm an alarmist.
I'm not
Yes.
implying I'm not implying the Fort Lauderdale.
No, I'm just saying in general.
DeSantis, on the other
But
hand.
I'm just saying in general. If I start seeing cities doing, because it is a nationwide thing that you are starting to see city building codes. Being in the design industry, and we are seeing this, which is a good thing, and it is, I think, a rebuttal to some of the national things that you're saying.
Yeah.
So, if I start seeing art disappearing from a local level, from code, from laws, then we definitely need to, we all need to wake up in general, but then that's going to be a really oh shit moment.
Yeah.
So again, resilience is key here, and invest in your community. LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up trans rights. University of Kansas warns trans employee for using woman's restroom. The University of Kansas has issued a legal notice to a transgender employee after she was reported for using the woman's restroom on campus. Spahn Kirkstein, a janitor with the Kansas Geological Survey, told the Lawrence Times that she was completely shocked after receiving an email from Human Resources stating that a complaint had been filed. Kansas Senate Bill 244 prohibits transgender people from using government-owned multi-occupancy restrooms that align with their gender identity and allows fines for public institutions following complaints. Kirkstein said she has used the women's restroom for years without issue and rejected a suggestion to relocate to a building with an all-gender restroom. She told the Lawrence Times, quote, "I have no intention of complying. No intention at all," end quote. Make your stand. I mean, unfortunately, there's a bill, and there's a law, and you have to comply with the laws, or you don't, like she's saying that she doesn't, and, fight and bring legal action. Try to change the law. Fortunately, this is going to be a reoccurring theme.
It's like a Rosa Parks moment, but
100%.
And it just, people have to stand up.
Yeah. Be ungovernable, people. Don't obey such an absurd law. There are just laws and unjust laws, to quote a no longer alive reverend. But the idea that this is okay to harass, this woman's just being harassed by the state at this point, and let's just call it what it is. There is no logic to this. This is absolute absurdity. This is hate given form. Screw Kansas. How dare you? How dare you think you can act like this to people?
And I would implore anybody building new buildings in Kansas, just make all gender bathrooms.
There you go.
It's fine. It works on airplanes.
Sydney LGBTQ venue closes after landlord orders it stop offensive trade. A new LGBTQ pop-up venue in Sydney has closed after its landlord ordered it to stop operating what it described as offensive trade or risk eviction. The venue, Divine Playhouse, has opened inside a former church that was deconsecrated nearly a century ago and has operated as a theater for decades. The closure followed protests by about 70 people from Catholic and other Christian groups over performances and promotional material they said mocked Christian symbols. Organizers said they had already made changes before opening and emphasized that the venue was intended as a space for artistic expression, not to offend. Heaps Gay, which leases the building, said it is exploring legal options while prioritizing the safety of artists, audiences, and staff. Sydney officials and art advocates criticized the closure, arguing that creative spaces are vital to the city's cultural life and that peaceful protest should not prevent LGBTQ communities from accessing safe and inclusive venues. Well, yeah, I think it's not going to surprise any of you that this card-carrying DSA member says, "Screw landlords! How dare they?" First of all, the moment you rent something, you have certain rights to use a space. That's not just at most places. Like, so when a landlord tries to tell you not to do something, unless you're like destroying the building, chances are you can tell them to F off. But like, this is just absurd. Like, leave them be. And like, what? You got 70 whole people to your protest. To be like, what? Like, did they get the Crotchety Society of Sydney to this event? Like, who the heck cares? My God.
I'm going to keep this 1 minute news because I can list the millions of churches that have been changed over to something else that would go against Scripture. But I want people to learn their Scripture, especially if they're going to use it. You realize that churches are against Scripture anyway, that you're not supposed to build temples and icons to Jesus your Lord. And he says that straight in the Bible. So learn your own Scripture before you go throwing it at other people.
Anything before I close out?
Sydney's a lovely city. It's a shame we won't get to see this venue if I go back.
Right. Well, before I close out, I'm going to push back on the Catholic Church for one quick second. They're not really ones to talk after what they did to the Pantheon. Should I get some pagans to go protest Rome sometime?
LGBTQ 1 minute news. Let's queer up the USA view. Erika Kirk urges conservatives to fight transgender people and Muslims at the TPUSA summit. Erika Kirk, CEO of Turning Point USA, called on conservatives to become, quote, happy warriors against what she described as the enemy during the organization's chapter leadership summit in Washington, D.C. In her remarks, Kirk said, quote, "So I don't care if it's a trans, if it's a gender confused person, if it's a Muslim, if it's whoever else that's standing in front of you, that's spitting on you, that's cussing at you, that's throwing your buttons everywhere. I don't care. You are what? You are what Charlie always said. You are what? You are a happy warrior. That is what you are as you fight," end quote. The comments come months after President Donald Trump appointed Kirk to the USA Air Force Academy's Board of Visitors, an advisory panel that provides recommendations on the Academy's moral, disciplinary, instructional, and logistical matters. Kirk replaced her late husband, Charlie Kirk, on the board following his death last year. Neither Erika Kirk nor Charlie Kirk has military experience. Well, just doing a little research on Erika, she has a degree from Liberty University, I think in biblical science or something like that. She's really not qualified. I mean, I think it speaks for itself. And it's sad. I mean, she talks about the Holy Spirit, but what happened to, if you're really a Christian, Erika, you're just following your husband's footsteps. You're not creating a new identity for yourself. You're just creating, bigotry and hate. So that's not Christian. I think you need to find a new life.
Exactly. People had so much sympathy for her.
Yes.
After what happened, and she just threw it away.
Yes.
And I am I shocked she threw it away? Of course not. This is how the far right acts all the time. And like, to go after trans people and Muslims, it is so disgusting. Like, two groups of people that are actually sweet and very kind and peaceful in the United States, especially compared to groups like Talking Points. Like, you want to think about who's spitting on who and pulling people's buttons off.
Yeah.
It's those MAGA people like her.
That's what I was going to say. And I love the fact that she said, fight. I'm like, you're the one creating the fight.
Yes.
We're defending ourselves.
Yes.
So
you're stirring the pot.
You're starting the fight. You're stirring the pot. And what are you fighting for? Give me one definitive thing that you're fighting for. You can't.
She's an attention whore.
LGBTQ 1 minute news. Oh my God, let's queer up sports. LGBTQ issues shapes 2026 FIFA World Cup with pride match, fan boycott, and safety concerns. Football's biggest tournament also became a focal point for LGBTQ plus issues during the 2020 FIFA World Cup, co-hosted by the United States, Mexico, and Canada. The tournament's first designated Pride March featured Iran and Egypt in Seattle, drew international attention because of the country's records on LGBTQ rights. While FIFA said it did not designate an official Pride match, the Seattle World Cup host committee designated the Group G match as the first ever Pride match. FIFA also permitted rainbow flags inside stadiums under its tournament code of conduct. Safety concerns also prompted some LGBTQ supporters to stay away. I think it was nice that FIFA and specifically Seattle did the Pride match. There's been all this discourse around, it was Iran and Egypt. Oh, look at that. I'm like,
they set the Pride match before they knew who it was playing.
Not only that, but like for most of us, like especially those of us in the United States, we're not really ones to talk about our LGBTQ record at this point. Like, we really can't be judging others. Like, if we want to quote Jesus, wasn't he the guy that tells you to not look at the speck in someone else's eye when you have a log in your own? Right. And I look at some of the activists, I'm like, let's take care of the log in our eye in this country.
Well, not only that, the FIFA match was literally right before Seattle's Pride, their actual Pride too. So it was a 2 for whammy there. 2 for whammy. But I mean, it's interesting that, FIFA is like, oh, we're not going to do this. And now, the next FIFA's in where? Saudi.
I don't know.
It's in Saudi Arabia. It's in Saudi Arabia. So Saudi Arabia is already saying, oh, gay people can come, even though
I saw that.
Yeah. So no, it doesn't fly. LGBTQ 1 Minute News. Let's queer up the worldview. Deadly shooting killed 1 transgender person in Pakistan. Another is injured. The shooting took place in Peshawar, Pakistan. Police continued investigating the attack. Authorities said an unidentified gunman opened fire near Raja Ground Bridge in the Peshawar. The person who died was identified as Mishi, while another trans person named Tara was hospitalized with gunshot wounds. According to local reports, the two had gone to the area to retrieve a phone and money from a friend when an altercation reportedly led to the shooting. Police transported Mishi's body for a post-mortem examination and collected forensic evidence at the scene. No arrests have been made. The attack has drawn renewed attention to violence against Pakistan's transgender community. While Pakistan's 2018 Transgender Persons Act allows people to legally change their gender based on self-identified gender identity without gender-affirming surgery, LGBTQ advocates say trans people continue to face discrimination. I mean, unfortunately, this is sad. Someone died and someone's injured. The news story doesn't say too much about what the altercation was, what it caused. It could have happened to anybody. Unfortunately, because they were trans people, it probably is going to die here. No pun intended there. Like, literally, I don't think the investigation is going to go any further. If it had been a Pakistani man and his wife, or just 2 other Pakistani cisgendered people, there probably would have been a full-blown investigation. Unfortunately, because they were transgender, regardless of the reason they were in the altercation, and regardless of the reason why one of them is dead and one of them is injured, due to political unrest and natures around the world at the moment against LGBT people, I don't think any resolution will ever happen.
Anti-trans hate, unfortunately, is a very international problem. It's hard to say will justice be found. The one thing to remind American viewers, like, I'm not an expert on Pakistan, but like, guns are very rare outside the United States, so it's much easier to identify whose gun is who in other countries, because like, it's rare. Like, there have been very prominent shootings in Pakistan over the years. I think former Prime Minister Bhutto, I think about her assassination. But like, often there is a lot more that they can do in these countries. So hopefully something will be done.
And I don't have an immediate snapshot of what it's like, but from what I understand, women's rights in general are still not up to par with what we enjoy in our country.
Pakistan is a very interesting country. The only thing I really know about is there's an American woman who's famous on TikTok because she moved to Pakistan to find a husband. And she gets all this attention in Pakistan. It's quite, so I would not say culturally they're inherently hostile to women, but I would not, and they have had female prime ministers in the past.
These are today's headlines from Queer News Tonight. Our anchors represent the best of our LGBTQ family.
If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Don't forget to join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform. Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support if our community is to grow and then thrive. We must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ stories in motion and in sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Rex Rogosch, and I thank you, for joining us on behalf of my fellow LGBTQ anchors here at Queer News Tonight, Alex Morash and Larry Farver. We'll see you daily at 8 p.m. To our LGBTQ world, we wish you a good night.
Night.